So good afternoon everyone. So I'll teach you the last part of the bones of upper limb, skeleton of hand. Okay. This is the structure that will be given in your exam. So can anyone tell what are the bones present in our hand? So these are carpal bones. These are and these are phalanges. Can anyone tell me how many carpal bones are there? 8. So total 16. Okay. So this is the proximal row and this is the distal row. You know proximal, distal? This is what this part and this part, which is proximal and which is distal. This part proximal, this part distal. So this row will be proximal and this distal. See, this is the proximal row, this one, and this is the distal row. We start naming from lateral side or medial side? Lateral side, okay? So this bone is known as scaphoid. This is lunate. This bone is triquetrum. This is pisiform. This is trapezium. This is trapezoid. This is capitate. And this is hamate. Okay? Scaphoid, lunate. This is triquetrum. This is pisiform, trapezium, trapezoid, capitate and hamate. Okay. So there is one mnemonic which is she looks too pretty, try to catch her. This is the mnemonic to remember the carpal bones of the hand. So this is what joint? What is the name of this joint? This joint, what is the name of this joint? Wrist joint. Okay, so you can see the carpal bone which is present in the proximal row are taking part in the formation of this wrist joint. Except which bone? This is taking part? No, this is not taking part. This is pisiform. Okay, so all the proximal row carpal bones will take part in formation of wrist joint except the pisiform bone. Okay. This is what bone? This one, scaphoid, okay? Now what can you tell me what is the shape of this bone? Boat shaped, okay? So, in the proximal part of the scaphoid bone, there is one articular surface by which it is articulating with, what is this bone? Radius, okay? It is the lateral side. So, laterally which bone will be present in our forearm? Radius, and this is the medial side, so ulna. Okay, so in the proximal part there will be facet or the articular surface for articulating with radius. Okay, and this is medially or laterally? Medially. So medially it is articulating with which bone? This is pisiform. This is not pisiform. What is this bone? Lunate. Okay. And distally it is articulating with? Scaphoid. No, this one. Scaphoid is articulating with? Capitate. Okay. And this is, what is this bone? Trapezium. Okay. So, so anyone knows the meaning of avascular necrosis? What does the term mean? What is the meaning of avascular? No blood supply. What is the meaning of necrosis? Yes, death of the cell. So, this scaphoid bone is the most commonly fractured carpal bone. Okay, it is the most commonly fractured carpal bone. How can it get fractured? When we fall in our outstretched hand. Okay, it can get fractured. Now, how is the blood supply in scaphoid bone? The blood vessels come from distal to proximal part. This is the distal part of the scaphoid and this is the proximal part of the scaphoid. So, blood supply comes from distal to proximal part. Okay, and the most common part of scaphoid which can get fractured is the waist of the scaphoid. Clear? So, when this part gets fractured, so blood supply will be disrupted. So, proximal part will not get any blood supply. So, the proximal part of scaphoid bone will get necrosed. So this is known as avascular necrosis of scaphoid bone. Clear, or should I explain again? Okay. So this is scaphoid bone, which is the proximal part of the scaphoid bone. This one, and this is the distal part, and this is the waist of scaphoid. Okay, so this bone gets fractured easily in case of carpal bones. Like when we fall on our outstretched hand, like if we fall like this, no, this bone can get fractured, and the fractured line most commonly passes through waist of the scaphoid, and all the blood supply come from distal part to proximal part in case of scaphoid bone. Okay, so obviously proximal part will have relatively lesser blood supply as compared to distal part. So if the bone gets fractured, this blood supply will be completely disrupted. So it will lead to necrosis of the proximal part of scaphoid. So if waist of the scaphoid get fractured, which part will undergo avascular necrosis? Proximal part. Clear? Okay. Name lunar means crescent shape. Okay, so medially it is articulating with, what is this bone? Below pisiform, this one, triquetrum. Okay, laterally with, this bone is articulating laterally with this bone. What is the name of this bone? Scaphoid. Distally with, this is this big bone, capitate. Okay. Now triquetrum. Triquetrum is roughly cuboidal in shape. So laterally, this is the triquetrum. Okay. See, this is the triquetrum. This bone. Okay. This is the pisiform. This is the palmar surface, and this is the dorsal surface. Okay. So, triquetrum, okay, triquetrum is laterally articulating with lunate, okay, and distally with this bone. What is this bone? Hamate. Clear? And this is the small, this bone now. Okay, what is this bone called? Pisiform. Okay. So then it is the smallest carpal bone. Okay. Now, can anyone tell what is the meaning of sesamoid bone? They develop in tendons. Okay. So this pisiform has some peculiarities. See, it's a sesamoid bone. Okay, it develops in the tendon of flexor carpi ulnaris. It's very important. It can be asked in your exam or in your viva. Then what are the peculiarities of pisiform bone? Okay, it's a P-shaped bone. It's a sesamoid bone. It develops in the tendon of flexor carpi ulnaris. Okay, it does not take part in the formation of wrist joint, as I have told earlier, and is the last bone to ossify by 10 to 12 years. Okay, and it lacks periosteum. Covering of bone. Now this triquetrum on the palmar surface, this is the palmar surface and this is the dorsal surface. So this triquetrum on its palmar surface has a facet or an articular surface through which it is articulating with pisiform. Okay, and pisiform on its dorsal surface is having a articular facet through which it is articulating with triquetrum. Clear? Now this bone, trapezium. Okay, so this is the tubercle of trapezium. This structure here. This is the tubercle of trapezium. Okay, and it has a groove here. You can see the groove. This is the groove. Okay, medially it is having a groove. This is the groove, okay? This is the tubercle of the trapezium. This is the groove of the trapezium, okay? Which is present medial to the tubercle. Now, medially it is articulating with, what is this bone? This bone? Trapezoid. Okay. And distal it is articulating with? Metacarpal. Which metacarpal? No. First. Okay. First metacarpal. Then this bone is trapezoid. Trapezoid, the shape of the trapezoid is just like a shoe. Okay, this is the trapezoid bone. It is shoe shaped. Okay. Now again, medially it is articulating with this bone, capitate. Okay, and laterally articulating with, no, this one. You can see the trapezium. Okay, and distally it is articulating with, what is this bone? Second metacarpal. Okay, we name the metacarpal from lateral side. Okay, from the thumb. Okay. Now this bone, what is the name of this bone? Capitate. It is the largest carpal bone. Okay. So it has a head, this one. So head is present proximally, and this is the triangular base of the capitate. Okay. Medially it is articulating with, and laterally articulating with trapezoid. Okay. And distally, okay. Now this bone is known as hamate. This is the hook of hamate. See, this is the hook of hamate. Okay. Now hamate has an important relation with ulnar artery. Okay, this hook of hamate. Whenever this hook of hamate or hamate will get fractured, it will affect ulnar artery and ulnar nerve. So all the muscles supplied by this nerve and all the sensations provided by this nerve will be lost. This is the clinical correlation with the hamate bone. Okay. Huh? Okay. So this is the hook of hamate. This one. This one. Okay. So it is related with ulnar artery and ulnar nerve. So whenever this bone will get fractured, ulnar artery and ulnar nerve will be disrupted. So the blood supply which this provide to the muscle will also get disrupted. So their functions will go. Okay. You can take notes. No. It has some characteristic, like it develops in the tendon. Okay, then from tendon it develops, like you have seen pisiform also develops from flexor carpi ulnaris. It lacks periosteum. It has some features. Okay. Now the ossification of carpal bones. Okay. So carpal bone is ossified from one center. Okay. So what is the first bone to ossify? In case of carpal bone, it is capitate. Okay. It ossifies second month. Hamate third month. Triquetral third year. Lunate fourth year. Scaphoid 4th to 5th year, trapezium and trapezoid both 4th to 5th year, and pisiform is the last bone to ossify. Okay, so which is the last bone to ossify? Pisiform. It ossifies at about 10th or to 12th year. Clear? Now metacarpal. How many metacarpals are there? 5. This is the first. This one, 5th. Okay, so it has a proximal end, distal end, and a shaft. Okay, so distal end is the head. You can see the shape. Okay, and proximal end is the base of the metacarpal. Okay, so if we cut this, the cross section will be triangular. Clear? It has a medial surface a lateral surface and a dorsal surface. Okay. So now we will read about each metacarpal. Okay. So this is the first metacarpal. You can see that it is thicker and shorter than the rest of the metacarpals. Clear? Okay, it's not so. Okay, so it has a prominent ridge over here. You can see in the bone. You can feel it later when I will give you the bone. It has a prominent ridge here, which is dividing it into a larger lateral surface and a smaller medial surface. Okay, and it in the proximal part of the metacarpal bone, there is one facet through which it is articulating with. What is this bone? Trapezium. Okay, and distal part it is articulating with. What is this bone? No, metacarpal is this one. This is phalanges. Yes. Okay. Now next, this is the second metacarpal. Similarly, it has a proximal end, shaft and distal end. Okay. Now it has a groove. You can see the base is grooved. Okay. Can you see? Grooved base. Okay, like this, it is grooved. Can you see the groove? Okay, by which it is articulating with trapezoid. Okay, and this is the third metacarpal. This is the third metacarpal, which is characterized by the presence of a styloid process. This is the styloid process, which is present in the dorsally and laterally. Okay, this here no, so it is laterally and in the dorsal part, and it is articulating with. You can see here and tail. Capitate. Clear? And similarly, this is the fourth one articulating with hamate, and fifth one articulating with hamate. Okay? Oh. Don't talk. Now, ossification of metacarpals. What do you mean by primary ossification center and what is secondary ossification center? What do you mean by ossification? Bones from? What will be there instead of bones? Cartilage. Okay. So primary ossification center of the metacarpal will appear in the shaft of the metacarpal. Okay. By the ninth, primary appears prenatal, before birth, and secondary ossification center appears after birth, postnatal. Okay. So the prenatal center will appear in the shaft of the metacarpal. Okay. And the primary ossification center, and the secondary ossification center will first first metacarpal is different from the rest of the metacarpals. Okay, in the first metacarpal, the secondary center will appear in the base. You can see the first metacarpal has secondary center in the base that appears by second or third year of life, and it will unite with the shaft at about 16 years. Clear? And the other metacarpal bones will not have their secondary center in their base, but it will have in their heads. Okay, and this will also appear by 2 years of age and will unite with the shaft by 16 to 18 years. Clear? So primary ossification center will appear in the Which part of metacarpal? Shaft of metacarpal. Okay. Secondary ossification center of this one. This is the first metacarpal. Will appear first in base. Okay. Are you getting? So now phalanx. So this is the diagram of phalanges. Okay. So you can see this 4 are having how many phalanx? This and this 3, and this one 2. So our thumb has only 2 phalanx, and rest of them will have 3. Okay. So this is the, what is the name of this? Proximal phalanx, and this is the distal phalanx. This is the proximal, this is middle, and this is distal phalanx. Okay. See, each of the phalanx will have 3 parts. This is the head, this is the shaft, and this is the base. Okay, this proximal phalanx, middle phalanx, and distal phalanx both will have 3 parts. Okay, so what is this shape? Concave or convex? Concave. Okay, so this proximal phalanx in its base is having a concave articular surface for articulating with. Okay, you can see it is articulating with metacarpal bone. And this head of proximal phalanx is in the shape of a pulley. Okay, and similarly the middle phalanx, base of the middle phalanx is having 2 concavities. Okay, to fix the convexities of the head of the proximal phalanx. Clear? This part is also, head of the middle phalanx is also in the shape of a pulley. Clear? And this part is irregular in shape. Okay, so these are the part of the phalanx. So this is what? Proximal phalanx. This is distal. This is distal. Okay, clear? So now the ossification of phalanges. Okay. So primary center will appear in the shaft, primary ossification center, and the secondary center for its proximal end. Okay. The primary center will first appear in the distal phalanx. Okay. And then in the proximal phalanx, and lastly in the middle phalanx in 8th, 10th and 12th week respectively. Okay, so first it will appear in the distal phalanx, then proximal, last in the middle. Clear? Now the secondary center will first appear in proximal phalanx, then later in the middle and distal phalanges. Clear? So can anyone tell what was the last bone that ossifies in case of carpal bone? Pisiform. Okay. And by what age? 10 to 12 years. Okay. Now attachment on the hand of skeleton. Okay, muscles. Now this diagram is showing various muscles attached to the hand. Okay. Now can anyone say which is the thinner region of the palm and which is the hypothinner region of the palm? So this is the thinner eminence, okay, and this is the hypothinner eminence. What is the other name of this thumb? Like to name the muscle, we use that name. You have learned some of the muscles. What do you use? Pollicis. Okay. See, this is this one. This one, hypothinner. Okay, towards the thumb, in the side of the thumb it is thinner. This is hypothinner. Now, thinner muscles. What are the thinner muscles? opponens pollicis, abductor pollicis brevis, flexor pollicis brevis, and adductor pollicis. Okay, this flexor pollicis brevis and adductor pollicis are having two heads. Okay, like flexor pollicis brevis having superficial head and deep head, and this adductor pollicis is having oblique head and transversal. Okay, so you can learn about their origin and insertion from this diagram. Clear? Like what does the blue pink color represents? No, pink color represents one thing and blue color represents another thing. What does the pink color represents? Origination, yes. And what does the blue color represents? Insertion. Insertion. Okay, so pink is for origin and blue is for insertion. Clear? So you can see here, like what is this bone? Written trapezium. Okay, now you can see this abductor pollicis brevis. Okay, why it's named pollicis? Because it is in the, yes, it is. And what does the word brevis means? What is the meaning of longus? Why the muscle is named longus? Okay, it is longer, and brevis means short or small. Okay, so you can see abductor pollicis brevis. Can you tell me from which bone it is originating? It is in this part. Okay, the circle. In which bones the circle is present? This part. Trapezium, and what is this bone? Scaphoid. Okay, so you can see this abductor pollicis brevis is originating from, you have seen in the diagram now from where it is originating. Okay, you have seen in that diagram, this is abductor pollicis brevis. From where is it originating? What is this part? Just tell the names of the bone, I am not asking. Trapezium and scaphoid. See, so tubercle of scaphoid and proximal part of tubercle of trapezium, and it is getting inserted in the lateral side of the base of proximal phalanx of thumb. Okay, opponens pollicis brevis is originating from middle of tubercle of trapezium, and it is getting inserted in lateral part of palmar surface of shaft of first metacarpal. Clear? Now flexor pollicis, as I have told, it has two heads. One is superficial head, another is deep head. Okay, superficial head is originating from distal part of tubercle of trapezium, and deep head is originating from trapezoid and capitate. So, and it is getting inserted in, okay, and it is getting inserted in lateral side of the base of proximal phalanx of thumb. Okay, and adductor pollicis, it is also having two heads. One is oblique, another is transverse. Abductor pollicis brevis, opponens pollicis brevis, flexor pollicis brevis, and adductor pollicis. Are you getting? Sit. So you can see the muscles from here, okay? Abductor pollicis brevis, you can see the origin here. Opponens pollicis, origin. Okay, abductor pollicis longus, this is the insertion of the abductor pollicis longus, okay, and flexor pollicis brevis and opponens pollicis, okay, similar from here. Okay, this both are originating from here. Here it is adductor pollicis is getting inserted, and here abductor pollicis brevis and flexor pollicis brevis is getting inserted. So you can take picture of this diagram so that you can read from here. Okay, it will be easier to remember from this picture rather than just mugging up things, because it gets difficult sometimes to mug things. Along with this one only origin. Middle of the tubercle of trapezium. So this is the trapezium, this is the tubercle. So from the middle, it's originating. Opponens pollicis, what you have asked, okay? Now all the muscles of the thinner eminence are supplied by median nerve, except adductor pollicis, which is supplied by ulnar nerve. Okay, all the muscles are supplied. All the muscles of thinner eminence are supplied by median nerve. Adductor pollicis is supplied by ulnar nerve. Okay. Now, why is it called pollicis? Thumb. Okay. And what is the meaning of brevis? Small. Now, hypothenar region. Okay. Hypothenar is which part of the palm? This one. Okay. So towards this hypothenar, not thinner. Okay. Flexor digiti minimi, abductor digiti minimi, and opponens digiti minimi. These are digits, na. That's why the name like this. Flexor digiti minimi, abductor digiti minimi, and opponens digiti minimi. Okay. Which one is the hook of hamate? Which bone is the hamate? And abductor digiti minimi will originate from pisiform bone. Okay, which one is the pisiform bone? This one. Okay, this you can see all the thinner muscles are supplied by median nerve, except adductor pollicis, which is supplied by ulnar nerve. These are the hypothenar muscles. All the you can see here. This is the flexor digiti minimi brevis. This is the abductor digiti minimi, and this is the opponens digiti minimi. Okay, so all the hypothenar muscles are supplied by ulnar nerve. Okay, flexor digiti minimi will originate from hook of hamate and will get inserted into medial side of the base of proximal phalanx of little finger. So, can you tell me which part? Which is the proximal phalanx of little finger? Little finger, proximal phalanx of little finger. This one. This is the little finger. This one. So medial side of the base. This is the base. Medial side is this one. Okay. Abductor digiti minimi from the medial and distal part of pisiform bone and will get inserted into medial side of base of proximal phalanx of little finger. This opponens digiti minimi will originate from hook of hamate and will get inserted into medial surface of fifth metacarpal. Okay, you can see the muscles from here. This is abductor digiti minimi. You can see the origin from, what is this bone? Pisiform bone. Okay, flexor digiti minimi. What is this part? Hook of hamate. Opponens digiti minimi. Hook of hamate. Okay, insertion of opponens digiti minimi. Yeah, yes. Flexor digiti minimi and abductor digiti minimi. Metacarpal is this one. This is phalanx. Which phalanx? Proximal phalanx. Which part of the proximal phalanx? Base of the proximal phalanx. Okay. So the muscles of thinner region are supplied by, except adductor pollicis, median nerve. Adductor pollicis is supplied by, muscles of hypothenar region supplied by ulnar nerve. Okay, clear? Now interosseous muscle. So there are two types of interosseous muscle, palmar and dorsal. Which is the palmar surface and which is the dorsal surface? This surface is palmar. This surface is dorsal. Okay. So palmar interosseous are 4 in number. Okay. Again we name from lateral side or medial side? Lateral side. Okay. This is the first, second, third and fourth. Now these are unipennate. Now can you tell me what is the meaning of pennate?
With one end serpent.
Yeah,
With one serpent.
means leaf-like. Okay. So it is unipennate. Okay. It's leaf-like, unipennate. Okay. In one side, that's why uni, and pennate means leaf-like. Okay. The arrangement of the fibers. So can you tell me from where the palmar interosseous are originating from? What is this bone? No, this is metacarpal. So it is originating from the metacarpal bone and it is getting inserted in dorsal digital expansion. Can anyone tell what is dorsal digital expansion? Tell. The extensor tendon get expanded and it is present dorsal to metacarpophalangeal joint and proximal phalanx. This is known as dorsal digital expansion. Okay, so these palmar interosseous muscles are getting inserted in dorsal digital expansion. Are you getting, everyone? Because after the class I will ask questions, that's why I am telling. Are you getting? Okay, so origin from metacarpus. Okay, insertion, expansion. Have you understood what is dorsal digital expansion? Okay, the extensor tendon will get expanded, okay, and it will form dorsal digital expansion, which will be present dorsal. We are understanding now, dorsal, palmar and dorsal, which will be present dorsal to metacarpophalangeal joint and proximal phalanx. Okay, this is dorsal digital expansion. It will get inserted here. Now function adduction. How will you remember it? By the mnemonic PAD-DAB. P-A-D, then D-A-B. Palmar interosseous, adduction, dorsal interosseous, abduction. Okay? The nerve supply is by deep branch of ulnar nerve. Okay? PAD-DAB, P-A-D, then D-A-B. Separate, to separate. Now this is the dorsal interosseous muscle, okay? You can see it is bipennate as I have told, okay? Okay? Then it is originating from, what is this bone? Metacarpal. So from the adjacent sides of metacarpal. Again from the lateral side, this is the first, second, third and fourth. Okay, it is originating from adjacent side of, like this one is originating from adjacent side of first and second metacarpal. This one, second and third. This one, third and fourth, and this one, fourth and fifth. Okay, and it is getting inserted in dorsal digital expansion, same like palmar interosseous muscle. Okay, function is abduction, nerve supply is deep branch of ulnar nerve. So this palmar interosseous muscle and dorsal interosseous muscle, these both are 4 in number. Nerve supply is by deep branch of ulnar nerve, both palmar interosseous muscle and dorsal interosseous muscle. Palmar interosseous muscle is unipennate, dorsal is bipennate. Okay, palmar function is adduction, dorsal function is abduction. Clear? Yes, you have written the mnemonic. No, P-A-D means palmar, P for palmar, A-D for adduction. Now next is lumbricals. Okay, how many lumbricals are there? 4. First, second, third and fourth. We count from lateral side. This is the first, second, third and fourth. First and second will be unipennate and third and fourth will be bipennate. Okay, first and second will be supplied by median nerve. Third and fourth will be supplied by ulnar nerve. Okay? And what is the function of these lumbricals? Flexion at the metacarpophalangeal joint and extension at the interphalangeal joint. This is the metacarpophalangeal joint and extension as these are the interphalangeal joints. These are the interphalangeal joint. This is the metacarpophalangeal joint. So, flexion at this joint and extension in these joints. Okay, this is the function of lumbricals, and they take origination from which tendon? It's written only profundus. Flexor digitorum profundus. Okay, it's originate from flexor digitorum profundus. So all the thinner muscles supplied by median nerve. Adductor pollicis supplied by ulnar nerve. Hypothenor muscles supplied by ulnar nerve. Palmar and dorsal interosseous muscles supplied by deep branch of ulnar nerve. And lumbricus supplied by first and second median nerve. Third and fourth by ulnar nerve. Clear? Now, can you tell me from where this first lumbrical is originating? What is this? What is this finger? Index finger. What is this side? Lateral or medial? Lateral. Towards the thumb is lateral. Okay. This is your anatomical position. This one away from the body is lateral. Towards us medial. Okay. So this is the lateral side of the index finger. Okay. From the tendon flexor digitorum profundus. Takes origin from tendon of flexor digitorum profundus. Okay. See. Lateral side of tendon of flexor digitorum profundus of index finger. Clear? And it is inserting, where is the insertion? See, lateral side of dorsal digital expansion of index finger. See, index finger, lateral side. Clear? Similarly for the second and third. Can you tell me for the third one? This third one, remember third and fourth are what pennate? Bipennate. So it will originate from adjacent side of middle and ring finger. Origin. See, lateral side of tendon of flexor arises from adjacent sides of profundus tendon for middle and ring finger. It is unipennate, no, so this will be from one side, and these two are bipennate from this side also and this side also. Okay. So, okay, understood? So, what are the carpal bones? Can you tell what are the carpal bones present in proximal row? Pisiform. And distal row? What type of bone is pisiform bone? Pisiform bone, sesamoid bone. Okay. So from which tendon it arises? Flexor carpi ulnaris. From which tendon pisiform arises? Okay. Which is the last bone to ossify? Pisiform bone. By what age it ossifies? 9 to 12. Okay. What are the parts of phalanges? Means what are those phalanges called? Middle and distal. Okay. How many phalanges are there in our thumb? 2. Thumb 2. Okay. Yes. Now, can anyone tell me what is carpal tunnel syndrome? Okay, I'm telling. This is the dorsal surface and the medial and lateral. Okay. So it is forming a convex shape. Okay, and this palmar surface, as you can see the carpal bones here, it is forming a concave shape. So flexor retinaculum, you will be seeing it in dissection hall, passes over it. Okay, so as a result, this part will be converted into a tunnel. Okay, that's why the name tunnel is used here. Okay, this palmar surface of carpal bone, when it will be traversed by the flexor retinaculum, it will be converted in the shape of a tunnel, and median nerve passes inside this tunnel. Okay, so anything that will increase the pressure of this tunnel will compress the median nerve. Okay, so this median nerve will get compressed. So this is known as carpal tunnel syndrome. Like arthritic changes or like dislocation of carpal bones, anything can increase the pressure of the tunnel, as a result of which the median nerve will get compressed. This is known as carpal tunnel syndrome. Clear, or should I explain again? Clear. Okay. Now, avascular necrosis of scaphoid I have explained. Can anyone tell? Stand up, I cannot hear.
If someone falls like this, too much pressure is given here, and the blood vessel stops.
From where the fracture line passes? No, fracture line where fracture is waist of scaphoid, and the blood vessels passes from now distal to proximal. Okay, so if it gets fractured, blood supply will be disrupted. Okay, sit down. Clear? Okay, now if there is fracture in your scaphoid bone, you'll get, how will you diagnose that scaphoid bone is fractured? Okay, no, how will you clinically diagnose it? You will get tenderness in the anatomical snuff box. This part is the anatomical snuff box. It will be shown in your dissection hall. This part is known as the anatomical snuff box. Okay, it is bounded by two tendons, abductor pollicis longus and extensor pollicis brevis. Okay, it is bounded by these two tendons. Superficially, it will be means the roof. It will be traversed by cephalic vein and superficial branch of radial nerve. Okay, and radial artery passes through this snuff box. So if anyone is having scaphoid fracture, there will be tenderness in the anatomical snuff box. Okay. Now Dupuytren's ischemic contracture. Have you seen palmar aponeurosis? Not seen. Okay, it will be shown. Okay. So palmar aponeurosis is basically deep fascia. It's a modification of deep fascia. Okay. So what happens in this condition? There is fibrosis, thickening of the palmar aponeurosis. Okay, so it will affect these two fingers more, and as a result, you can see here these are flexed. So this condition is known as Dupuytren's ischemic contracture. Here there is fibrosis and thickening of the palmar aponeurosis. Okay. Now what is mallet finger? This one is mallet finger. What happens? Some lateral fibers of the extensor tendon. What tendon? Extensor tendon, which will be attached to our proximal phalanx, distal phalanx, will get avulsed. Okay, due to which the person will not be able to extend it. You can see here the person is not able to extend this part. It is flexed. So this condition is known as mallet finger. Okay. So which nerve passes inside the carpal tunnel? Median nerve. Clear? So this thenar muscle, hypothenar muscle, palmar interosseous, dorsal interosseous muscle and lumbricus, these are called the intrinsic muscles of hand. Okay? So now you can see the bone and appreciate the carpal bones. Start and pass. Try to name all the carpal bones, okay?